Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Theology of Rhythm podcast. My name is Reagan Cannington. I hope you're all doing well. I know I am. Not much going on in my life, just getting ready for school to start. Been ordering books and registering for classes and getting all the stuff done, online that I need to. I just need to do the real life things of like packing, getting all my stuff in my car, right? But that is a future problem because it's not move-in day yet. We'll figure that all out the day before. Other than that, just, playing at church, loving it, always great. Love church, love the people. And yeah, so nothing too crazy. Things will probably get crazy once school starts, but that's a future problem. We've got a great episode today. Christian music versus worship. We're going to dive into what it means to be in Christian music versus in worship, what it means to be a Christian entertainer, what is Christian entertainment, worship versus just Christian music, how it relates, how it's different, right? Can a Christian entertainer be a worship leader? And, one of the questions of Christian music versus, entertainment is not just like, is this entertaining, but it's who is this for? What's it trying to accomplish? Is the audience participating or are they watching, right? Where is the attention ultimately directed? Some churches use their ministry for entertainment, and some entertainers use their entertainment as a ministry. And so we're going to be diving into all of that. A lot of good stuff there, a lot of interesting things to talk about. So let's just dive right in. Christian music is not the same thing as worship music. So you can obviously think of what's the difference between it, right? And you can think of in your mind, oh, this is a Christian music song and this is a worship song, right? But what really is the difference? Considering these things, right? Is every song written by a Christian worship? Is every song about God worship? Is every song we play in church worship? Is a Christian concert still worship, right? When you go see Forrest Frank in concert, when you go see Toby Mac in concert, is that still worship? Is it worship when nobody's singing? Can a Christian artist minister to people without leading congregational worship? We've had a tendency to just slap worship onto every sort of Christian music, right? But we need to look at what worship truly is. Before we talk about the music, we actually need to discuss what is worship at its core. Worship is much bigger than music, and musically, not everything Christians do with music is congregational worship. So, worship is not fundamentally a musical category. I believe Adam Neely talking about this, saying that worship music is the only genre of music that is classified by its lyrical content. I believe it was in his video listening to CCM for an entire week just to see what CCM was about, because it's the only type of genre he doesn't listen to. And he said that it's the only one described in its lyrical content. Every single other music genre is described through its musical content, right? You listen to metal, it's metal because of the way it sounds. You listen to jazz, it's jazz because you know the way it sounds. You listen to pop, right? But worship is the only one in that category because of its lyrical content, which is an interesting point. And worship is not just strictly music, right? Worship is a whole life obedience. Worship is a sacrifice. Worship is praise. Worship is reverence. Worship is responding to God for who he is. Romans 12:1 and 2 says, I appeal to you, therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. Verse 1. Verse 2. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God and what is good and acceptable and perfect. Worship is not just conformed to singing, right? He's saying use your bodies as a living sacrifice. That is worship. And that can look like anything, right? Anything that you use your body for the glory of God is worship. Serving, yes, it can obviously be playing on stage, but it looks like serving the community, right? Being kind to people, showing the fruit of the Spirit to people, right? John 4:23-24 says, "But the hour is coming and is here now when true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father is seeking such people to worship him. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and in truth." 1 Corinthians 10:31. This relates back to the Romans 12 verse. So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do it all for the glory of God. And so this is just saying that we should use our bodies, right? 12:1, use our bodies as a living sacrifice, 1 Corinthians, in doing everything for the glory of God. Everything should be done for God's glory. So if worship is not synonymous with music, then we can say that Christian music does not automatically mean worship. Now, what I mean by that is that a Christian can write a song about whatever it is exactly, right? Their testimony, their struggle with this, their struggle with that, their thought about the world or on this thing. And that can be relating to God, but that is not a worship song, right? We sing a song like Holy, Holy, Holy. That is a worship song directed toward God. This Christian song can be just discussing an issue and how God is in the mix of that. And that is not necessarily a worship song. And that is not bad on Christian music. It's just a different function than worship music. And so what exactly is Christian music, right? Christian music does include congregational worship, right? Christian artists, hymns, psalms, evangelistic music, right? Music about Christian experiences like what we just talked about. Music that communicates biblical truth, right? Music that Christians use as an artistic expression. A song can be Christian without being congregational. A Christian artist can write a song about God's faithfulness, grief, doubt, struggle, loss, depression, right? The Christian life, the Christian walk, right? But it doesn't necessarily have to be designed for a congregation to sing. Think about a Christian rapper. Not very congregational at all, I would argue. It is meant for the purpose of rap, right? He's writing for the glory of God to sing about these things that he's gone through, to sing about God in his life or whatever he's rapping about, but it is far from congregational, I would argue. And so Christian music is a category of music, and worship is a response to God. These can overlap, but they're not identical. They're not the same thing. And so what exactly makes a worship song? What's the song actually doing? Is it addressing God, declaring his character? Is it praying? Is it confessing? Is it teaching the congregation? Is it admonishing, right? Colossians 3:16, we'll get into that in a second. Is it telling a story about God? Is it expressing an individual experience? And all of these can be good things, but they're not necessarily all the same thing. Colossians 3:16, let the word of Christ dwell in you richly, teaching and admonishing one another in all wisdom, singing psalms and hymns and spiritual songs with thankfulness in your hearts to God. This is a great verse. This is one of my favorite verses, right? Paul is teaching us about worship and how it should function, right? Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly, and that you're singing to one another, teaching and admonishing, right? You're building one another up. And so Christians sing in multiple ways, right? When we're singing up to God. We sing his praise to him. We're singing to one another. We're teaching one another about God. We're repeating these truths to one another. And we're reminding ourselves about the truth of God. So we're singing in three different ways, right? And so we're singing these truths to ourselves so that we are also reminded as we are reminding others. And with that idea of congregational worship, I feel like it gives a much more rich and deep understanding of what is actually going on in a congregational service, right? When you're singing and playing, you're not just singing by yourself. You're singing in the whole congregation of people in three ways, right? And that can make worship a much deeper and richer experience. And so going back to the idea of Christian music and entertainment is not inherently evil, right? You see a lot of people look at the entertainment industry and see it as automatically bad. It is automatically something that cannot be redeemed. It is too far gone, entertainment bad, worship good, right? Not necessarily. And so, is it inherently wrong to entertain people? No, it is not. Art entertains people, right? Art can inspire, encourage. It can tell a story. It can provoke thought. It's beautiful in and of itself, right? Most art, hopefully. And so Christians should not be afraid of this idea of art or entertainment. And so the question is not just, did people enjoy this, but it is, what is the role of the enjoyment in it? Enjoyment can be a means of getting somewhere. It is not the end, right? When you have a Christian concert or Christian art, it is not meant to just stop right there of like, wow, this painting is really beautiful. I went to the art museum in Houston recently. Lots of Christian art, very, very beautiful. But that's not the end. That is not what the original painters wanted. They did not want you to look at the painting and go, wow, that is so beautiful. Next, like I'm walking to the next painting in the museum. They wanted it to be thought-provoking and you to see all of it, and that to bring you to worship God and understand him, right? I saw a painting of Jesus and the woman at the well. I don't think they wanted you to stop there. They want you to read the story of that and be transformed by that. And so art and entertainment should be a means of getting somewhere, but not the end all of it. And so the church has turned their ministry into entertainment, right? On Sundays, you go there. There is stage, professional lighting, amazing musicians, massive screens, rehearsed transitions, right? Perfectly timed everything. Everything's on a counter. And none of those are inherently wrong. None of those things that I just named, right? Obviously, turning ministry into entertainment is not a good thing. But the things I just named, screens, great musicians, none of that is bad. None of that is a bad thing to have. That shows a level of excellence and professionalism that should be held in churches. And so the difference between entertainment and the congregational worship on a Sunday morning is, what is the congregation actually doing? Are they participating or are they just watching? Church can turn, and this is dangerous, this is not a good thing, church can turn the congregation into an audience. The worship leaders can turn into performers, and the worship can turn into just an experience, right? Are we creating an environment where people worship God, or an environment where people are watching people worship God? And so we need to see church as the congregation. It's almost like I would love it, absolutely love it, if there was no stage at church. I think it's the coolest thing. I love seeing those. I've seen so many churches do it. I say so many. I've probably seen like 5 or 6 on Instagram Reels where churches have like a worship night and all the band is in like the middle of the room. I think that's the coolest thing. And they're like sitting down and they have their like pedal boards on like a table. Coolest thing in the world. I love that. Because it's not the congregation is watching us worship, right? Or the congregation is just seeing us play, but we're all worshiping. And so like I would love the idea of an elimination of the stage. It's necessary, of course, when you have a large church. You want the people in the back to be able to see what is going on, see what's happening, right? I understand the necessity of it, but it'd be awesome to get rid of it, because it's a cool thing. And so don't turn the congregation into an audience. Don't think of it that way. Think of it as we are all worshiping God. We are all on equal playing field. Just because I'm sitting behind the drums, just because I'm sitting on the drum throne hitting the drums does not mean I'm worshiping more or doing more, right? More for worship, more for God. I'm on the same playing field as the person sitting in the back row of worship, right? All singing praise to his name. And so what is the idea of a church versus a concert, right? Sometimes they look very similar. They both have musicians, microphones, lights, perfectly timed transitions, rehearsed songs, production, crowds, right? What makes them different is the participation, right? We just got into this, right? Concert says, watch us perform this. You go. I've been to so many concerts. I've seen 21 Pilots live. I've seen a bunch of metal bands live, and I love all of it. I love a good concert. But when I go see 21 Pilots, I'm watching them. They're playing. They're doing their thing, and I'm watching them do it. And of course, it's incredible. It's amazing to see. But I'm not participating in the songs with them. I'm hearing them play the songs. I'm singing, of course, because I know all the words. But that doesn't mean we're participating in the same thing. They're doing more for the concert than I am, right? And I would hope so. But that's the difference, right? Is the participation aspect. Come sing with us versus come watch me sing. And so what is the idea of if a concert is ministry? Some churches, right, we said this earlier, some churches use their entertainment or use their ministry as a form of entertainment, but some entertainers use their entertainment as a ministry. A Christian artist can gather 5,000 people and truly minister to them, and a church can gather 10,000 people and completely lead them astray, right? And they both can proclaim the gospel, encourage believers, tell their testimony, point people to Christ. But it's different of the idea of congregational worship. Like I said, you go to a Forrest Frank concert, Toby Mac concert, there is not congregational worship there. It's the Forrest Frank songs. He's singing the Forrest Frank songs. He's singing the Toby Mac songs, It's not congregational worship. But there's a ministry there. And so just because it is entertainment does not make it automatically worldly. Just because there is a much larger production at a Forrest Frank concert as opposed to a church service, right? He's got 18-wheelers full of stuff for the show. I don't know of a church that has multiple 18-wheelers of stuff. I'm sure there is, but just because it is entertainment does not make it automatically worldly. And just because it is congregational worship in a church does not make it automatically genuine, right? Just because of where you're gathering and what the situation is does not make it automatically good or automatically bad. And so this leads us into looking at where's the direction of our attention. Where's our attention going? Are we looking at the artist, the performance of the art, right? When you go to a Forrest Frank concert, you're going for Forrest Frank, right? I don't think there's many people there that are like, oh man, I need to go to a worship service. Let's get Forrest Frank tickets. Nobody's doing that. You're going to Forrest Frank because you like Forrest Frank and you like the songs. And there's nothing bad about that, but the attention is, of course, on Forrest Frank. You're going to see him. And so in congregational worship, our focus should be on God. And it's not to say that Christian music is bad, that it is bad to go for Forrest Frank. I've been to like 16 or 17 Toby Mac concerts, which I know is crazy, but it's a true story. I've been there, done that 16 or 17 times probably. And we, of course, go to see Toby Mac because we love the Toby Mac songs. We love seeing him in concert. He puts on a great show. But the idea there is to go see Toby Mac. And in that, there is a ministry. There is a Toby Mac ministry of him proclaiming the gospel and singing truth about God to 5,000, 6,000 people in a stadium, right? And so a worship leader can be highly visible on the stage at church, right, without drawing attention to themselves. And a Christian artist can also be highly visible and still be pointing people to God. That's what Forrest Frank does. That's what Toby Mac does. Sorry, those are the only two examples. It's just what's fresh on my mind right now. And so we need to look at who is ultimately being magnified, right? John 3:30 says, he must increase, but I must decrease. And so we can apply that to musicians. And the goal is to not say, nobody noticed the musicians or the people on the stage, but it should be that the musicians and the music are not the object of what they're trying to help people see, right? Like I talked about with the art, it is not a stopping point. It's not a wall. It is a means to the Lord, right? The worship, the music is to guide us to God, to lead us to praising him, right? I talked about in an old youth ministry one time with my worship leader, and we were talking about how he said that we should be pointing up to the Lord. We should be pointers on stage. Everybody's looking at us, and we're pointing up to God, right? That's what the music's doing, and not literally pointing, of course. It's like it's a metaphor, but we should be pointing up to the Lord in our worship, in the songs that we're singing, with the music that we're playing. And so this takes us into an idea of excellence versus performance, because on a stage in church, playing is going to be very different than playing for a concert of Toby Mac or of Forrest Frank. I know I would play differently in those two categories. I'm still a drummer. I'm still going to do what is in my drum brain, but I can differentiate the difference between the two. And so worship musicians should be good. They should be good. And that's just bottom line. Watch the first episode. Psalm 33:3 says, "Sing to him a new song, play skillfully on the strings with loud shouts." That is biblical excellence. That is what you should do. 1 Chronicles 25, 1-3 says, David and the chiefs of, we're not going to read all that. Basically, there was some musicians that were called to play for the Lord, and it says, the number of them along with their brothers who were trained in singing to the Lord, all who were skillful, was 288. Right? They were skillful. They were skillful before the Lord. So the Bible has a place for skilled musicians, instruments, rehearsing, excellence, musical leadership, right? And so this is just saying that the entertainment business of being a performer on stage does not mean that in church we should leave all the good people for the Forrest Frank stage and have the not good people in church. There should be good people in both areas, right? Excellence, musical excellence says, how can I serve this song? How can I play for the song what is necessary for the song and necessary for the congregation and for the worship leader, right? You should always follow your worship leader, literally always. If they say, hey, play a little softer, or they say, hey, put the fill here instead of here, it'll make more musical sense. Say, okay, and do it, right? That's what excellence says. Performance says, how can I make this moment impressive? Obviously, some things that you're going to do on the drums are impressive. People will tell you, hey, the way you play the drums is so impressive and so cool. It is so awesome, right? But that's not the point. Doing anything musical is impressive anyways, because you're a musician. You're awesome, of course, And so being impressive is not a bad thing. It is automatically impressive to play an instrument. When I'm in a conversation with people, I've literally had this conversation probably 30 to 50 times in my life. I tell somebody, oh yeah, I play the drums. And they're like, oh my gosh, I couldn't do the foot, do my hands and the feet at the same time. And it's like, yep, I know. It's pretty crazy, right? Sure, it's impressive. But in your impressive ability, you should be able to say, what does the song need? What do the people need, right? And so when does this impressiveness, this level of skilledness, and even production, right? This extends past you. When does it become distracting? And so there's a lot of things in worship, in the worship space, that can be distracting, right? The lights, the sounds, the screens, the people on stage, the transitions, camera shots, staging, right? None of those are bad things. Those are all good things, actually. You should want to have those things in your worship service. But where do they become distracting? And so ask yourself, when you're like, we need to do this, we need to do that, does it help the congregation participate in worship? Or does it create a barrier between the band and the congregation, right? Because again, we're all in the same field. Does it create a barrier? Does it make them more impressed with the experience, or does it make them more engaged with it? And so I'm a huge fan of lights. I think it's so cool when I see lights in concerts, right? When I go see 21 Pilots and they have a light show going on, it's the coolest thing in the world. It really is. But it's like, do we need that in church? Do we need synchronized light flashes to the hits? No, we don't. We really don't. It's really distracting. It's really dumb. Bethel posted a clip the other day where they were doing like eighth note hits, and it was like a light was going off for every. It was ridiculous. It is. And so it's like we need to be focused on how can the congregation and the band be with one another, be the same, right? We're all worshiping. We're not separated in any way. I mean, some of us are on stage playing an instrument and some of us are not, but we are all still worshiping and singing to the same God. And so we need to not be distracting. We need to be looking at how can we bridge the gap between the people, right, on stage and off stage. And so with musical excellence, we need to look at worship music and the idea of repetition and big moments in worship music, because this applies. It does. It's like worship always has the same structure of, it's literally always verse, chorus, bridge, big chorus, big double chorus, right? And so it's always building. There's always builds in worship. That's my big thing. Get rid of builds. Let's do something different. And I know it starts with me, basically. Like, I just need to figure out something else to play. But I feel like worship music's always building. You're always building. Just, I wish they'd write better parts. But repetition is good. It is a good thing. Repetition helps people learn, right? When you study for a test, you don't just like look at your stuff once and then be done. You look at it and look at it again. That's what happens in worship. We sing the same lines over and over again. We sing the same songs over and over again. I think it is good when we sing a theologically correct song to sing. When we sing a song where it's "You Are Good," X32, that's not that good. We could be singing much better stuff. We need to be singing theologically accurate and good things about the Lord, things that show who he is, show his beauty, show how we should have reverence toward him, show his greatness, his might, his power. And we need to have our theological content be a greater peak than our musical climax, right? The theologicalness of the song, I can't think of a better word for that, should be much more engaging than our musicalness in it, right? If we took away all the awesome things about worship, right? Lights and about worship music, right? If we took away all the awesome things of pads and lights and drums and guitar, if we took all that away and we were just singing the song, would we still have something worth singing, right? And so this brings us to the idea of participating in worship versus consuming worship. When you're participating, you are singing, you are engaged with worship, you are responding to the Lord, you are singing praise to his name, proclaiming truth. When you're consuming, you are saying, wow, that was incredible. The singer was so good. The band was so good. The drummer was amazing. The atmosphere was so crazy. That is what I say after a 21 Pilots concert. When I leave, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was so good, right? Because I've consumed, because I wasn't participating. I'm consuming what they're giving me, right? And so, of course, I don't believe that those kind of reactions about a church worship service are sinful or bad. It is not bad at all to say, man, the drummer was so good. Man, the guitarist was so good. Because they are, hopefully. They are incredible musicians that have worked hard. But that's not the point of worship. Which reaction are we trying to cultivate out of people? Are we trying to create a worshipful response of, God has changed me because of this service today, right? I have a new heart. I loved singing praises to his name today. Are we cultivating that response, or are we cultivating a let's be so awesome so that people see our awesomeness, right? And that is not a good thing. And then we should ask ourselves, can a church service be entertaining? Is it okay for a church service to be entertaining? Short answer, yes. People will always be entertained with stuff they like. I love live music. My dad loves live music. We've always said it's our favorite thing. We love live music. It's always the coolest thing in the world. So people will be enthralled by live music. And that is what worship is. Worship music congregationally is live music, right? People are still going to enjoy singing live music, engaging in live music. People enjoy a compelling sermon, right? But that enjoyment is not the peak of what worship should be. Entertainment can become a problem when the goal is to entertain people, or people are only being entertained, and the subject of the worship service is not Christ. When we aren't leading people to Christ, that can become a problem. And so the goal of worship is not to entertain or to cultivate entertainment, but it is to lead people to sing to Christ. And so looking on the flip side of that, can a concert be worship? There's a lot of things here. There's a lot of things to look at with a concert, right? You have lots of different kinds of Christian music concerts. When we look at a Forrest Frank concert or a Toby Mac concert, we need to look at the heart behind it. And of course, I can't say blanket statement, this person's concert is worship, this person's not. Like, if it's a rap concert, it's bad. If it's this concert, it's good. You can't say that for everybody. But a concert can be a ministry to lead people to Christ, right? It is not worship music like we talked about earlier, in the sense of not all the songs are a direct response to God. Some of them are songs about their struggle with this, their struggle with that. And so it is not necessarily congregational worship, but it can be used for the glory of God, right? Back to that verse, all the things you do for the glory of God. And so God can be glorified in a concert when it is not just strictly congregational worship. And so we see that worship is much bigger than just the stage. Romans 12, right? We talked about it earlier. That is worship, offering your body as a sacrifice. The worship set is not what worship is limited to. The band is not just worship. The lights are not just worship, right? Worship isn't just the Sunday morning experience. It is our entire life. A Christian artist can making a record is worship. A worship leader is worship, right? A person taking communion is worship. A person obeying God is worship. And so it is all these things. It is not just what happens on a Sunday morning or what happens at a concert, right? It is not limited to just those things. And so just because somebody calls themselves a worship band, right? We talked about this earlier with having a genuine heart behind it. Just because there is a worship band does not make it automatically worship, right? The label of the band does not automatically determine the substance of it. Just because they call themselves a worship band, the lyrics can still be shallow. The hearts behind the musicians can still be in the wrong place. Their mindset can be, I'm here to perform, I'm here to play, I'm here to do what is impressive, right? Not what is excellent. The theology behind it can be weak. And so ask yourself as a worship leader, or if you're a member of the congregation, look at the worship team and say, what is the purpose of this? Why are they doing this? Are they doing this for entertainment so that the church will be entertained? Are they doing this for the glory of God and that the congregation would participate to sing praise to his name, right? Who is this for, right? We talked about this. Is it for God, for the congregation? Is it for yourself, right? Does what they're doing help participation? Are the lights helping with participation? Is the band helping with participation? Or are they creating a barrier between the church and the stage, right? The stage should not indicate of like, this is the team that is worshiping and everybody else is watching. It is all one body, right? Does what they're doing communicate truth? Does it draw attention toward God or toward themselves? And would this still work if there was no production? Would this still be something worthwhile if there was not this large production going on with lights and drums and guitars, right? If we were just singing, would this be something worth doing? And so for musicians, ask yourself, if nobody knew that I played this part, would I still do it, right? Who are you doing this for? I remember a few weeks ago, we played Who Else at our church, and I completely changed the groove of the second verse. Made it completely different. It's like that tom groove in the original recording, and I made it into a 16th hi-hat groove. It was really cool, and I loved it. And after the service, I asked my mom, I said, did you notice that I changed the drum part? And she said, I was like on the second verse, and she's like, which one is that? And I said, okay, whatever. She obviously didn't notice. It's whatever. I did it because I thought it was interesting, and it served the song well. I thought it was cool. My worship leader thought it was cool. And it's something that serves the song and just gives it a little bit more musical variety, right? If nobody complimented you afterwards, would you still consider it a successful worship service, right? If nobody's coming up to you saying, hey, that was so good, I loved what you did, would you still say, is it still something that you would want to keep doing, right? Are you trying to make the song better? Are you trying to make yourself more noticeable? Are you playing for the excellence of the song so that the congregation can be one with the band, right? Or are you playing so that people will see your awesome playing? And so the danger in this is confusing response with success. A whole congregation that is crying does not mean worship was successful. If everybody's jumping up and down, that does not mean worship was successful. Everybody singing loudly or praying silently does not mean worship was successful, right? There can be worship happening, but not be a genuine heart behind it. There can be worship happening, right? And when I say worship happening, I mean a congregational singing, right? Band playing. But there be weak theology, teaching the wrong things, right? And so with all this, I know this was a crazy long episode for Theology of Rhythm, but whatever. To tie a bow on it, look at congregational music and you singing in your church as something that everybody is participating in. When you are in the congregation, you are on the same stage as the band. The band is on the same stage with you. You are all singing to the Lord, right? You are all in the same playing field. And when you go to a Christian concert, there's something different happening, but it is a means to God, right? When you go see Forrest Frank, he is proclaiming the name of Jesus Christ, but he's there to play his songs, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But in congregational worship, he is there for singing to God, right? And so think about all these things. Think about the fact that worship is much bigger than just singing. It's much bigger than just Forrest Frank. It's much bigger than just singing worship songs in church. It is our whole lives, right? And so ask yourself those questions that I asked earlier about musicians and about the church, right? Ask yourself those. Think about worship. Remember the fact that it is three-sided, right? You're singing to God, singing to others, and singing to yourself, right? Reminding yourself and others of truth and singing praise to God. Think about all those things. If you have any questions, please feel free to DM me at Reagan Cannington. If you have any episode ideas that you'd like me to cover, please feel free to DM me again. I think that's all I have for today. I know it was a lot of talking, but, it's what it is. It's a podcast. And so you listen to it. I like doing it, and so I'm going to keep doing it, keep talking about worship, all the things. And if you want to hear me keep talking about worship, be sure to follow on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. The YouTube's at Reagan Cannington. So you never miss an episode. Follow me on Twitter at Reagan Cannington, all the things. And again, feel free to DM me about anything that you're concerned with or you want to have a question about. That's all I have for y'all today, and I'll see y'all in the next one. See ya.